Figure 6 of Facsimile 2 of the Book of Abraham was interpreted straightforwardly by Joseph Smith as, quote, representing this earth in its four quarters. Based on contemporary 19th century usage of this biblical idiom, Joseph Smith evidently meant the figures represent the four cardinal points, northeast, south, and west. This interpretation finds ready support from the ancient Egyptians. The four entities in Figure 6 represent the four sons of the god Horus, Hapi, Imseti, Duamutef, and Kebesenuef. Over the span of millennia of Egyptian religion, these gods took on various forms as well as mythological roles and aspects. One such role was indeed as representing the four cardinal directions. By virtue of its association with the cardinal directions, observes one Egyptologist, 4 is the most common symbol of completeness in Egyptian numerological symbolism and ritual repetition. As another Egyptologist has summarized, quote, the earliest reference to these four gods is found in the pyramid texts, where they are said to be the children and also the souls of the god Horus. They are also called the friends of the king and assist the deceased monarch in ascending into the sky. The same gods were also known as the sons of Osiris and were later said to be members of the group called the Seven Blessed Ones, whose job was to protect the netherworld god's coffin. Their afterlife mythology led to important roles in the funerary assemblage, particularly in association with the containers now traditionally called canopic jars, in which the internal organs of the deceased were preserved. This group may have been based on the symbolic completeness of the number 4 alone, but they are often given geographic associations and hence become a kind of regional group. The four gods were sometimes depicted on the sides of the canopic chest and had specific symbolic orientations, with Imseti usually being aligned with the south, Hapi with the north, Duamutef in the east, and Kebesenuef with the west. End of quote. This understanding is shared widely among Egyptologists today. James P. Allen, in his translation and commentary on the pyramid texts, simply identifies the four sons of Horus as, quote, representing the cardinal directions, end quote. Manfred Lurker explains that, quote, each of the sons of Horus had a distinctive head and was associated with one of the four cardinal points of the compass and one of the four protective goddesses associated therewith, end of quote. Geraldine Pinch concurs, writing, the four sons of Horus were the traditional guardians of the four canopic jars used to hold mummified organs. Imseti generally protected the liver, Hapi the lungs, Duamutef the stomach, and Kebesenuef the intestines. The four sons were also associated with the four directions, south, north, east, and west, and with the four vital components for survival after death, the heart, the ba, the ka, and the mummy. They were the gods of the end of quote. They were the gods of the four quarters of the earth, remarks Michael D. Rhodes, and later came to be regarded as presiding over the four cardinal points. They also were guardians of the viscera of the head, and their images were carved on the four canopic jars into which the internal organs were placed. Another Egyptologist, Martin J. Raven, argues that the primary purpose of the four sons of Horus was to act as, quote, the four corners of the universe and the four supports of heaven, and only secondarily with the protection of the body's integrity, end of quote. The association of the sons of Horus with the earth's cardinal directions is explicit in one scene where, represented as birds flying out of the four corners of the cosmos, they herald the ascension of King Ramses II to the throne. Quote, Imseti, go south, that you may declare to the southern gods that Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, has assumed the crown, and the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Usermatre Septepenra, Ramses II, has assumed the crown. Hapi, go north, that you declare to the northern gods that Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, has assumed the crown, and the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Usur-Matre Setepenra, has assumed the crown. Duamutef, go east, that you may declare to the eastern gods that Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, has assumed the crown, and that the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Usur-Matra Sepenra, has assumed the crown. Kebesenoef, go west, that you may declare to the western gods that Horus, son of Isis, and Horus has assumed the crown, and the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, Usur-Ma'at-Ra Set-Epen-Ra, has assumed the crown. End of quote. While Joseph Smith's succinct interpretation of Figure 6 and Facsimile 2 might have left out some additional details, we know about the sons of Horus, roles which evolved over the span of Egyptian religious history. It nevertheless converges nicely with current Egyptological knowledge.